I've started to work since I was at the age of 6 years old, and that has something to do due to the fact that my father had spent many years, nearly 12 years in jail, and being the oldest one of the family, I had to work at the early age where I have to take care of my family at this age. I've started to work at the age of 6 years old in a sewing factory, making school bags, dividing my time between school and work, and mostly work up till like late in the night where I spend my time, and that's been the situation since that time. Then I have started to work as a journalist when I became at the age of 17 and a half. I've started writing for a number of magazines and newspapers, and I have now my website rafahtoday.org where I get the message out. It's very heavy fist, and you have to take this during the attacks and difficult circumstances, because under these situations you would have to be protected at least by this bullet. Sometimes bulletproof vest cannot be very safe. For example, if you want to take this one, it's bulletproof vest from here and from the back, and it's also from the sides, but you never know if you will get a rocket shrapnel or a bullet in the neck, and then it become like a catastrophe, because it's not everywhere protected, and then you are in trouble. I have also vest which is really heavy, and it's quite annoying to have this on, but at some point I have to do it, because it identifies me as a journalist first, and it makes me clear to the Israeli army during attacks. So that's really something very important for me to take under these situations. Becoming a journalist wasn't my hope in the first place, but it was the life that I lived under has forced me to be a journalist, to become a journalist in a war zone where I lived under a difficult circumstances, watching the Israeli helicopters, the Israeli F-16, the bombing, the shelling, the killing, people's bodies scattered in the streets, injured and killed people all over the areas, demolished houses, how the Israeli occupation forces have demolished large numbers of houses, and the people are just watching and watching on daily basis. This has made me a person who would like to tell the truth, since the people in Gaza unfortunately haven't heard about what's happening in the Gaza Strip, and then I was assuming that the whole world is not aware of what's going on. Since then I have decided to be a journalist and to be a voice for those who have no voice. That's not my nature, I assume, to be a stressed person, but I am a rather stressed person in difficult circumstances, because when you live in a war zone you would have to expect that there is lots of bombing, lots of shelling, lots of attacks, and it's a matter of life or death. And then it's just very difficult for you to focus, and it's very difficult for you to be relaxed in such difficult circumstances. As long as I'm keeping neutral, checking my sources, and keeping an independent journalist, This is really what I care about, and to be a voice for those who have no voice, and just to get the message across, because I need to be a true person, and I don't need to be a person who makes propagandas, because the truth is the most important that counts for me. And I feel that the world's problems are man-made, and the solution is also should be man-made as well, and it can come by the media. I feel a little bit discouraged after this speaking tour that the media is not doing enough to spread the message out, or they are rather making fool of people's minds by getting false messages in most times, and quite often there is no media coverage about really important issues that has to do with the life and death of people, that has to do with many important issues related to the Palestinians and their lives. For me as a journalist, it's quite difficult to understand this, because I don't know why it's the focus and why they are not focusing on what's happening in Gaza. But obviously the Israeli lobby in America, the Israeli lobby in the United States, of course, in Britain and Europe, it has a big influence, and this influence is really making the situation quite difficult, I'm afraid to say, for the Palestinians and for the Israelis, because they're getting the false message. I feel many times they mention stories that are completely wrong. For me, it counts to be an independent, and I will remain so, free of political parties, free of any political divisions or any issues, and what I'm concerned about is getting the message across, not to be pro-Palestinians, not to be pro-Israelis. I'm not pro-Palestinians, I'm not against Israelis, I'm always in favor of the truth, and that's what counts for me, because I want my readership all the times to have the message and to get the clear message about what's going on. I would like to have some more journalists, because they would support what I'm saying, and they would encourage, and they would give more credits. I always refer in my articles to the United Nations and to neutral sources like the UN, the UNDP, United Nations, UNRWA, as well as International Red Cross and many other organizations, sometimes to the World Bank. They don't have all of them have offices there, but I know that the UN is functioning in the Gaza Strip, and I check their sources and I keep records of what's going on. I really I'm very concerned about what's going on, and I want to make a solution for the world, and to make justice and peace not only a dream, but also something that can be reached within a short period, because it's enough. The people are suffering in the Gaza Strip, the people are suffering in Palestine, the people are suffering in Iraq, the people are suffering in Afghanistan, the people are suffering in Africa, and enough is enough. I feel more committed to get the message out through from the Gaza Strip, and I feel that this is the right place for me for the time being, until there is an end for this conflict. It might be that I move into other parts of the world, and I move, for example, to Africa to report about what's happening, for example, in Darfur, or going to Iraq, Afghanistan to report about what's happening, because we need to bring the bridges and not to burn the bridges between nations. We need to make bridges of understanding that both understand each other. Unfortunately, the reporting and writing is something that is running in my blood. It's something that I cannot get rid of, and it takes some time for me to report, because I'm reporting from a war zone, but it could be that I report for intellectual events, or for cultural occasions, or for religious, or for many other issues, because that's what counts for me as well, because wars are not the only thing. I'm not one of the people who believe that the newspapers should be only covering how many killed, how many did, how many this. Feature stories are really important, because this is something that relate to the people. People do not relate to the blood that much. Many people, they're just scared. Imagine when there is a European sitting with a cup of coffee and some biscuits and reading the newspaper, and it's all about the blood. From the first few lines, he will just turn into the next page and find something more to read about. Maybe some of the social topics, some of the feature stories about daily life. That what makes people really understand the conflict from this different aspects. Because bloody stories and all these things, I realized that through my experience, it's not something that makes more sympathy, and it makes the situation rather more complicated. My brother was not the first one to be killed. He wasn't the last one to be killed. He is being killed by the Israeli occupation forces while he was going outside. His killing has not by any way planted any negative thoughts in my mind, in my heart, in my mentality. I have become much more person who seek to alternatives of solutions. I'm not seeking revenge, but it has turned all my energy into a positive energy towards reporting and being a voice for those who have no voice in the Gaza Strip. I'm really concerned about the life of the people who are living in Gaza, and I'm really concerned about the life of all the people, because I really want the people to enjoy in Stockholm, to enjoy it in Gaza, and to enjoy it in Tel Aviv, and to enjoy it all over the world, because what we need is stability. Enough is enough for wars, and there should be more solutions towards a peaceful solutions, towards more justice and peace for the people, because this is what we miss. Now Gaza Strip is living under difficult circumstances. Gaza could be one of the areas like a tourist areas, but unfortunately it is not, because Israeli F-16s are bombing it. Afghanistan situation is also not different, and all the world needs peace and needs justice. There should be justice, there should be peace, and justice is defined in the international laws by respecting human rights, which is Israel is part of. Israel is not respecting human rights, and then is not respecting human rights conventions such as Geneva Accords and other human rights conventions all over the world. So what I'm really concerned about is to get the message out and to make the people aware of what's happening. I really think that it is really important for us as Palestinians and as all over the world to work, and as Israelis also, to work towards more stability, because the stability of the Gaza Strip is, or the West Bank, or the Palestine, or the Middle East is the stability of the world. Today there are more problems, but tomorrow we are hoping for a better future.
Mercedes.
Palestinians wanted to some of the Palestinian leaders wanted to get rid of the British. The Palestinians had lived under...
It's cold water.
Yeah. Do you want the question?
And if I sink, you'll bring me.
My name is Mohammed Omer. I'm a Palestinian journalist based in the Gaza Strip. I will start this presentation by showing a short video. This short video is taken in 2004, May, in Rafah refugee camp, the southern part of the Gaza Strip, where the Israeli occupation forces have attacked an area full of civilians. For 17 days, people have run out of food, water, electricity, milk for children, and everything that they need. Nothing remains. People have lost everything. As a result of that, there is a demonstration by young people, young men, children and women. Women join later on in a different demonstration. And the aim of this demonstration was basically to end the siege. How the Israeli occupation forces respond to such a peaceful demonstration, we are going to see right now. If you see this young man here, just keep following him, the one in the corner with this black and white t-shirt. If you could just keep following him and see what would happen to him just in a couple of minutes. The Israeli helicopters.